Welcome to another week on Black History Month. So we're going to address a question this week, but before, let me introduce myself. So my name is Toks and welcome to Wateredseed Talks. Now in this week's Black History conversation, I've asked my network of women to answer another question. And this time it is, what woman of African or African American or African British woman stands out to you and why? So I'm going to do a little bit of cheating because I've asked everybody to come up with one person and I'm going to have two people or two persons. So bear with me, yeah? I couldn't help it. Okay. So the first person that I'm going to choose would have to be my mother. My mother is of African descent. She was raised in Nigeria. She did go abroad to finish her further education at some point in her life, but then she went back to obviously Nigeria. Now my mother is a beacon of hope to me. She is light to me. She is a woman in spite of life's struggles, life's obstacles. She is a woman of resilience. She is a prayer warrior. She is constantly praying. She helps me to understand the power of prayer, the power of hope. When everything else is around us is dark, she reminds me to be thankful. She reminds me to pray. She reminds me of the good things of life. My mother is kind. My mother helps others even when she doesn't have. My mother sacrifices every day. When I had my children, she was here just looking after me, making me meals every day. She was just always giving up something about herself just to help other people. And I could go on and on about my mother, but I think you understand that I'm sure for most of us, the first person that stands out to us will be our mother. So I say for every woman, obviously having this conversation, that yes, our mothers, yes, absolutely our mothers. And the second person for me has to be my Angelou, and I know that a couple of other women that I've mentioned her in the video. And for me, my Angelou really again stands out, just again for the same qualities that I see in my mother. It is resilience in the face of obstacle. I mean, it's okay to see women who have prospered in happy times, who have prospered because of their upbringing, because they were supported all through life. But to see women who flourish when they have tragedies, obstacles in their path, it is that inner strength that makes them stand out to me, because to gain that inner strength, to overcome obstacle, there has to be so much mental conversation with yourself, with your purpose, with you, to be able to say, I'm going to overcome this obstacle. I am going to overcome this darkness. I am going to overcome every tragedy that life throws at me. And so Maya Angelou stands out to me, not only because she's a fantastic poet or fantastic writer, but just looking at all of her life, her history, and the words that she speaks out that makes so much impact, to the way that we carry ourselves and to the way that we live our lives. And so your ideal woman, or the woman that stands out to you, doesn't always have to be perfect all through their life. There might be women who've done wrong, who've done negative, and then somehow they've come out like gold from the ashes and they've just been refined. And so we urge you as always to, have this conversation with your children. Let this conversation be the time that you have something to speak or discuss about with your children in regards to who really stands out to them, who stands out to you. Have the discussion and enjoy our video for this week.
Hello people, my name is Meg. I welcome you to 2020 Black History Month. Black History Month is all about showing our children true character and encouraging our children that this life is all about love, integrity, struggle, leadership by example, and determination to excel against all odds, especially women. I know a woman that stands out and has made the difference and profound impact in Africa. Despite all odds, is Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, a Nigerian American. She was twice the finance minister in Nigeria. Made a lot of reforms, reforming the unreformable. In the process, our 83-year-old mom was kidnapped during a fight against corruption in Nigeria. With this agonizing experience, she did not relent in her effort. No wonder she became the new Director General for WTO just a week ago. Congratulations. We love you. Please continue the good works. Now, recognizing the outstanding contributions people from Africa have made from the beginning of life till now, I will say we are a people to be reckoned with. So Africans, don't give up. Women of Africa, don't stay behind. Thank you.
So I've chosen Yaa Asantewaa. She was a Ghanaian warrior queen, and I believe she stands out the most to me. So she's part of a history of African women who changed the world. And this woman was fearless and brave. She was born around 1840 into the Ashanti kingdom, where she was part of the family of traditional rulers. Now, the Ashanti kingdom around that time were under attack by the British. And the golden stool has been a symbol of power since the 17th century. According to oral tradition, Akomfo Anoche, a high priest, conjured the stool and caused it to descend from the sky and landed on the feet of Osei Tutu I, the first Ashanti king. Now, beginning with Osei Tutu I, the Ashanti kingdom believed that the golden stool housed the soul of the Ashanti nation. However, the British governor at the time, Sir Frederick Hodgson, demanded not only to sit on the golden stool, but to own it. You can imagine the Ashanti people were enraged, and a meeting was called at the village. Yaa Asantewaa came forward as the men seemed to have been disheartened. Her famous words were, I quote, "If you, the men of Ashanti, will not go forward, then we will. I shall call upon my fellow women. We will fight till the last of us falls in the battlefield." Her speech worked, and under the control of Yaa Asantewaa, who took on the British, it was unheard of at the time for a woman to lead an army. They were successful. The British never got their hands on the golden stool. However, Yaa Asantewaa was exiled into the Seychelles. She died there, spending over 20 years on the island. She did not live to see King Prempeh allowed back to Ghana. Nevertheless, her legacy lives on. I chose Yaa Asantewaa because I want women and girls to be empowered. We can do it and have done it before and will continue to do it. Most importantly, with the support and respect of our men, to bring up our children into a society that is very challenging at most times, does not put female at the forefront. We need to be good examples for our children. I chose Yaa Asantewaa because we need a reminder that we have strong African women.
The second question says, who stands out for me most? A lot of people, a lot of Black Americans especially, that I think they fought the fight and have created a good mark, and it makes me admire and respect the sacrifices and the hard work they've put in the past, and I think that's what's giving us the opportunity today. I have a lot, but I'm meant to pick one. I admire people like Oprah, I admire people like Barack Obama, I admire people like Maya Angelou, a lot of people, but I would rather pick somebody from my country, and that's Chimanda Adichie. That's because she grew up in Nigeria, same place where I grew up, and she traveled out of the country, went to America. She's the Nigerian writer, African literature writer actually, and she got to a place where she had to contend with racism and she had to find her feet, and somehow she's mostly talking about racism, sexism, feminism and all that, but I still always admire her as an African lady, like somebody that had to start all over again. She went to school, had to find her feet, had to be recognized, and she grew up. Me is that she helps me to dream, she helps me to think that you can be whatever you want to be, no matter where you are, no matter what you are, or what your background is, where you're from. You can actually be who you want to be. So it's a good time to reflect and make us understand that, okay, people in the past have done it and we can do it as well. So it's a good month, and Chimanda Adichie stands out for me.
Second question was about what is an African American or African black woman that stands out to you? Other than my mum, you know, all the women in my family, I think they're all amazing, strong, smart black women. Honestly, Breonna Taylor, because just looking at the treatment that she received in the media and just how it's really highlighted how black women especially, I think black men as well, but black women especially are just not protected by anyone. White men, white women, black men, like we are just the least cared for. And the Breonna Taylor case really showed me this, because, you know, people went all out for George Floyd, which rightly so, but what about Breonna Taylor? A lot of people were saying to say her name, don't forget her name, and her name was forgotten. You know, her family got $12 million, but only one police officer was charged, and he wasn't even charged with shooting her, he was charged with shooting at the neighbours, you know? So I would definitely say Breonna Taylor, just because it really highlighted the flaws that we have in the community and in the black community, and how we need to do a lot better for our black women, period.
Which African man or African American man or woman do I think about when I think about Black history? For me, it will be Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti. For me, Black history, like, it's a matter of perspective, and for me, she epitomizes every struggle that an African has ever been through, ranging from injustice, fighting against imperialism, gender equality issues. If you know about the Abeokuta women riot, she led it, and she was able to overturn the decision about taxing women who were not represented. So it was taxation without representation.
Admire or stands out for me. There are a number of women that stand out, but I think most present would be Michelle Obama for a number of reasons, but one fundamental to me is her actual tangibility now. You know, I think in my lifetime it's great to have someone that is very likely to have experienced similar things to myself, someone that is not just a fairy tale, is real, is actually doing all the things that once upon a time somebody like myself or like herself would never even dream about achieving. I love her demeanour. I believe that a lot of black women have negative connotations in relation to how they come across, and I think that she completely combats that and confirms that, you know, not everybody can be tarred with the same brush. I love her way of expressing retaliation, in that it's all very calm and collected. I remember in one of her speeches she said something like, when they go low, we go high. And that's a mantra that I constantly use for myself and also for my children. It just allows you to really think about how to come across without anyone incorporating stereotypes, etc., etc. So yeah, Michelle Obama is definitely up there in my list.
Maya Angelou was a poet and a writer that greatly inspired me, a black woman who, through her writing and her stories, was able to change the world for good. She inspired me myself to be a writer. I remember reading one of her novels, actually an autobiographical book of hers many years ago, and I was completely moved by it, by her struggles, by what she had to overcome to become who she was before she passed away. She is such a great inspiration and remains so, and which is why it's quite difficult for me to refer to her in past tense.
So a black African woman that stands out for me, there's a lot of them that stand out for me, but today I'm just going to say Helen Johnson Sirleaf. Like, she was the first head of state, African head of state. Like, if you know of African leaders and everything, you know that's a really big deal. And she's very big on peace and also fighting corruption in Liberia, and she got a Nobel Prize as well. So that really stands out for me, and it's quite recent in history as well, you know. So in that respect, you're not just thinking of way back, you know, what they did, what our African heroes did for us to pave way for us, but there are also people in recent times that are also paving way.
About the Black History Month theme was, when you think of African Americans, or an African American woman, or an African woman in history, who comes to mind? She probably would be at the top of many people's minds, but really Maya Angelou stands out to me. And the reason why is the fact that she had a deep connection with words. And I, for one, I think really take words for what they're literal and they're true and they're spiritual, and the meanings are much beneath the surface, I think. I watched Maya Angelou speak once, and in an interview she said, words are things. They stick to your clothes, they stick to your hair, they go into upholstery, they go into the furniture, and then they get into you. And when it's put that way, it makes you think. It really makes you think of the words that you utter, the thoughts that you form, which then become words. And as a consequence, the energy that you invite to your environment, to your atmosphere, to your family, to your relationships, because of words. So it was a big one for me, I think, when I watched that interview. And in so many other ways, she's really impacted upon me with that.